Hello, Dr. Carolyn Burgess here, owner and founder of Trinity Holistic Wellness, a holistic wellness center located in Indianapolis, Indiana. Well, today in this video, we're going to learn about your thyroid gland, its role in your endocrine system, and its role in greater energy and vitality in your life. I'll share with you that these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration, and the products and services that I recommend or suggest are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So, many of us are familiar with the thyroid gland. We know it sits in the middle of our neck. So I want to talk briefly here about some of the basics on thyroid health. TSH, T1, 2, 3, 4, tyrosine, and iodine. TSH is short for thyroid stimulating hormone. This is a hormone created by the pituitary gland, which is located in the center of your brain. T1, 2, 3, and 4 are thyroid hormones that the thyroid makes. Tyrosine is an amino acid, and iodine is necessary for the creation of these thyroid hormones. So if we're going to look at a T4 molecule, this is one molecule of tyrosine and 4 molecules of iodine, hence T4. Tyrosine and then 4 iodine. T1 is tyrosine and 1 molecule of iodine, so it's that simple. Therefore, knowing that we need that much iodine for proper formation of thyroid hormone, it's wise and prudent, in my opinion, to intake foods rich in iodine, and those can be sea vegetables. You can find dried sea vegetables at your local health food store. You can chop them up, put them in anything, almost like a seasoning. Well, here on this slide, you may want to pause this video and take a look at this and see if you recognize any needs that you may have here. So besides produce energy, what do thyroid hormones do? You may be surprised. One I want to mention here, there is a direct connection with thyroid hormone imbalance and elevated cholesterol. A lot of cholesterol issues are resolved when we go after the core issue, and that could be an imbalance in thyroid hormones. So go ahead and pause this, take a look at it, and we're going to move forward here. So what I want to share with you is your endocrine system. I mentioned that briefly at the very beginning of this video. Your endocrine system is composed of glands that create and release hormones. So your thyroid is a big player in the endocrine system. Thyroid located in the middle and the base of your neck. Now pituitary located in the center of your brain. Hypothalamus is also located there. And your pituitary is what creates and releases TSH. So when your pituitary creates TSH, if it's creating a large amount, and let's say you have a blood lab that has a high TSH, that means your pituitary is sending a very strong signal to the thyroid saying, thyroid, get to work, we got work to do, wake up. Now if TSH is low, we'll see the pituitary is sending a very weak signal, and that would be in a case of more hyperthyroid versus hypo, which we'll see a strong signal or a high TSH. Well, the one thing to remember here with the endocrine system is that all the glands are interconnected. If one gland is weak, another is going to be weak. Another important, very important gland in the endocrine system as it relates to energy are your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands sit in the back and on top of your kidneys. So your adrenal glands and your thyroid together, they run your motor. Quite often, an individual may experience fatigue, and we keep looking at the thyroid and keep whacking at that thyroid and get to work thyroid and give thyroid hormone and this and that. Well, quite often, the underlying cause can be a weakened adrenal state, more hypoadrenal or slow adrenals, and your adrenals are your stress handling glands. When you're under stress, they take a hard and heavy hit. So if the body is experiencing a lot of stress, quite often the body will try and compensate because the body always wants to reach balance. And as it's compensating, it can low down or just lower the thyroid output to kind of protect the adrenals, just slow the whole body down to protect it from elevated and excess stress that could cause acute damage to the system. So let's take a look here at how things work. First, we have your hypothalamus, which is in the center of your brain. Next to your hypothalamus is your pituitary, and then your thyroid gland, which creates and releases thyroid hormones. There are thyroid hormone 1, 2, 3, and 4, but T4 and T3 are the primary hormones that your thyroid gland releases. So your hypothalamus constantly takes measure of the levels of hormones in your system. And your hypothalamus is also connected to your limbic system, which is part of your emotional body, your emotional being. So it's kind of a segue in between the hormonal system and your emotional system. So your hypothalamus takes record of the level of hormones that are occurring in the body and the status, gives that report to your pituitary, and then your pituitary then makes an assessment and says we need more thyroid hormone, we need less thyroid hormone, it's time to ovulate, it's time to release insulin, whatever the status needs to be, your pituitary then sends a signal. So a thyroid, pituitary tells the thyroid to get to work or to not get to work by the amount of TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, that is released. Once that thyroid receives the TSH, it follows suit and creates and produces the thyroid levels of hormones necessary. So let's look at the optimal range for TSH. Now, there's a conventional normal range we're going to take a look at, and this is per the American Endocrinology Association. Now, up until November 2002, the low end of the range was 0.5. Now, after 2002, the American Endocrinology Association changed those parameters and lowered the TSH to 0.3 as the low end of a healthy range. And now, prior to November 2002, TSH up to as high as 5.0 was considered healthy and normal. After 2002, they lowered that to 3.0. Now, you might want to pause this slide and take a look at it, but what I want to share with you here is where I see an ideal clinical range, and that is a TSH of 0.3 to 2.0, and I find that patients feel best with that level of hormones, that level of TSH. So let's look at kind of thyroid hormone interface and kind of what's going on here. So this is a cell in your thyroid, creates and releases thyroid hormone. So T3, T4, and when these hormones lock into a very specific receptor site that receives only this hormone, it tells the hormone has entry into the cell, and it tells the cell to get to work, produce energy, because that's what thyroid hormone does. It engages the energy factory in the cell. So there are things that can interfere with the reception of this thyroid hormone, one being cortisol, estrogen, and estrogen disruptors. These substances all block thyroid hormone. Now with cortisol is created and released during stress. It's your stress hormone. It's the hormone that is in large part responsible for weight gain in the midsection. Estrogen will also, elevated estrogen levels will also block thyroid hormone from locking into the receptor site. And then we also have estrogen disruptors, and these are chemicals in the environment that look enough like estrogen, even though they're not. We actually call them xenoestrogens, xeno meaning foreign to the body. Well, xenoestrogens will also block estrogen. Now, the estrogen and birth control pills also falls into this category, can block thyroid hormone. So in this case, we may see in a blood lab thyroid hormone levels are actually optimal or in an okay range. However, there's blocking going on, and when an individual is under stress, your adrenal glands create and release the cortisol that blocks the thyroid hormone. So a lot can go wrong, and so I'll see individuals who'll come in and they have fatigue, but then they'll have normal thyroid levels. Well, then it's time to do a little investigation, look and see what's going on and how is this affecting the body and why is the body experiencing the fatigue. So a couple other things can interfere with the body's exposure to iodine or even using iodine. Now remember, iodine is a primary building block for thyroid hormone 1, 2, 3, and 4. So these are called halogens. For those of you that can remember that periodic table back in the day, halogens are in the same column as your iodine, which is also a halogen. So we're going to look at fluorine, bromine, and chlorine. These all interfere with the body's ability to take and use iodine to create thyroid hormone. So fluorine is in all treated water. It's everywhere. It's hard to get away from. Well, we know that it suppresses the pineal gland, and your pineal gland is responsible for the creation of melatonin, by the way, folks. However, your body will create that from serotonin. Well, this was also used in World War II, Germany, to keep the prisoners docile, and Soviet Union also used that. It's a very toxic substance. I'll be talking about that in subsequent videos. So just maybe, if you want to Google fluoride dangers, go ahead. Come find some interesting information. So bromine is also another halogen that interferes with the level of iodine in the body and the body's ability to use iodine to create thyroid hormone. So now bromine is used in almost all processed flours, and it affects the central nervous system adversely. It's actually very toxic to the body and to the central nervous system. You'll find it in all baked goods, anything processed breads, cakes, cookies. That's what's used. And it was in the 1960s they started using bromine. It was a pretty inexpensive way to kind of sterilize the flour. But it interferes with your iodine levels. Chlorine is also in chlorinated water. We find chlorine everywhere. It contains carcinogenic compounds. I do see an increase in thyroid cancers, and there is some evidence to support that people who are in chlorinated water a lot may be at increased risk for thyroid cancer because of the chlorine component. So here we're going to look at just a few healthy tips. So healthy thyroid tips. Kelp and seaweed's a great source of iodine. There again, you get that at your health food store. A good salt such as Celtic or Himalayan salt will help to push bromine out that happens to be in the body. It's very therapeutic and supportive for your adrenal health. A good daily multi with vitamins and mineral combination. A good foundational from a health food store or from a qualified healthcare professional, holistic professional. A balanced B complex. The balance component there is very important. Look at your label, make sure it doesn't have a high percentage of any of the B's, like 1,000 or 3,000 or 5,000%. That's not a balanced B. Some herbs that have been shown to be helpful for thyroid and adrenal health: bladderwrack, bacopa, and ashwagandha. You might find a herbal combination that has those. A good healthy fish oil supplement is always a great idea because it's supportive of the glands that make your hormones. These are oily glands, and they need good oils that are not inflammatory in nature. And the advice of a holistic practitioner that you trust, who has really a good amount of experience working with individuals suffering from hypothyroid symptoms, hypothyroidism, or even hyperthyroid. So look at where we have some free information for you on our website. We have at trinityholisticwellness.com, we have a hypothyroid questionnaire. It's under our health questionnaire tab. We have articles on hypothyroidism, adrenal fatigue, and weight loss. We also have a free newsletter that you are invited to call and subscribe to. We write various articles on health and wellness. We also offer free wellness consultations. This is a 15-minute consultation where we can meet you, discuss your options, and kind of see what we're looking at from a holistic point of view. So to schedule that, you would simply call our phone number directly here, and that's 317-871-0383. Well, hopefully you learned some great information about thyroid health, the endocrine system in general, and you just have a fantastic day.